You want to own a food truck, and from the sidewalk, the business looks beautifully simple. One vehicle, one compact menu, a line of hungry customers, and no dining room draining cash every month. But the truck is not a restaurant with the expensive parts removed. It is a restaurant, a commercial vehicle, a regulated food facility, a power system, a water system, and a small logistics company, all compressed into one moving workspace. This breakdown will show what ownership can require, where the money goes before opening day, how each sale is divided, and why a truck can look busy while the owner is still struggling to produce reliable income. Start with what you are actually buying. A vehicle is only the outer shell. Inside it must fit refrigeration, cooking equipment, ventilation, fire protection, hand washing and warewashing capacity, fresh water and wastewater storage, electrical service, propane or another cooking energy source, safe food storage, and enough room for people to work without colliding. An older used unit may cost tens of thousands of dollars, while a professionally built custom truck can move well into six figures. The meaningful number is not the advertised vehicle price. It is the amount required to place a legal, reliable, fully equipped business on the road. A cheap truck with worn refrigeration, weak electrical capacity, corroded plumbing, or an incompatible hood can become expensive during plan review, inspection, or the first major repair. Before signing a purchase agreement, ask for service records, equipment model numbers, inspection history, title status, and evidence that modifications were completed professionally. A lower price can be reasonable when the buyer has cash for renovation, but dangerous when every available dollar is used as the down payment. The opening budget should still contain initial inventory, small wares, uniforms, marketing, deposits, professional fees, and several weeks of payroll and operating cash. That makes due diligence different from buying an ordinary used van. You are inspecting the engine and transmission, but also the generator, wiring, propane lines, water tanks, pumps, sinks, refrigeration temperatures, hood dimensions, fire suppression equipment, cooking clearances, and the condition of every appliance mounted inside. You also need to know whether the local authority will approve that exact layout. A truck accepted in one jurisdiction may require changes in another because licensing, permit fees, construction rules, and operating restrictions vary by state, county, and city. The United States Small Business Administration explicitly warns that permits and fees depend on business activity and location, and food businesses can face several layers of local regulation. Los Angeles County provides a useful example. New and remodeled mobile food facilities may go through plan review for construction, materials, equipment installation, and ventilation. Trucks must be inspected before selling food, and operators may need to submit route and schedule information. New York City uses a different system. A vendor license and a unit permit are separate requirements. Permit availability has historically been restricted, and the city began expanding access again in 2026 through additional supervisory licenses and permits. That correction matters. The old description of a completely frozen permit system is no longer accurate, but entry can still depend on the permit category, waiting list status, and where the vehicle will operate. The regulation is not pointless paperwork. You are preparing food inside a metal box exposed to vibration, road dust, temperature swings, fuel, hot oil, gas lines, electricity, and limited space. The rules are trying to control real risks, but compliance has an economic cost. Plans may need revision, equipment may need replacement, inspections may be delayed, permits require renewal. Employees need appropriate food safety credentials, and the truck can lose operating days when a defect is discovered. Ownership, therefore, needs a contingency budget before launch, not merely enough money to purchase the vehicle. Then comes the base of operations. Many jurisdictions require, or effectively require, a permitted commissary or servicing location, depending on the menu and local code. This is where a truck may receive potable water, dispose of wastewater, store ingredients, clean equipment, obtain ice, and complete preparation that cannot legally or practically happen inside the vehicle. The exact rules differ, so it is unsafe to claim that every American truck follows one identical commissary requirement. Yet the larger lesson is consistent. Mobility does not eliminate premises. It often replaces a storefront lease with commissary fees, parking, storage, and scheduled access to shared kitchen space. That schedule shapes the owner's day. Lunch service may begin near noon, but production begins hours earlier. Ingredients must be received, washed, portioned, cooked or staged, loaded in safe containers, transferred to the truck, checked for temperature, and arranged in the order of service. After closing, the process reverses. Wastewater must be handled correctly. Food must be stored or discarded. Surfaces and equipment must be cleaned. The vehicle may need refueling, and tomorrow's purchasing list must be prepared. The visible selling period is only one section of the labor. A 4-hour public service window can sit inside a 10-hour or 12-hour operating day. This is where the menu becomes a financial system, not just a collection of recipes. Every additional item creates more ingredients, more storage positions, more preparation steps, more chances for waste, and more decisions during the busiest minutes. A large menu can attract attention, but it can also reduce the number of orders completed per hour. The strongest truck concepts usually share ingredients across several products, limit customization, and organize the line so that one order moves through a predictable sequence. A customer may experience variety, while the kitchen experiences repetition. Suppose the truck sells bowls, wraps, and loaded fries built around 2 proteins, 1 vegetarian base, 2 sauces, 1 slaw, rice, and potatoes. Those ingredients can create several combinations without requiring a separate inventory system for every item. The owner can purchase in larger quantities, forecast demand more accurately, and redirect ingredients when one item sells slower than expected. Compare that with 12 unrelated dishes using different breads, proteins, garnishes, and cooking methods. The second menu may look more impressive, but it ties cash to inventory that may spoil before it earns anything. Menu engineering also means balancing expensive centerpieces with lower-cost complements. Protein-heavy items can carry high ingredient costs, especially when portions are inconsistent. Market prices rise, or trimming and cooking losses are ignored. Sides, beverages, sauces, rice, potatoes, and other supporting products may contribute more gross profit per dollar of sales. The goal is not to trick customers with cheap food. It is to design a meal whose selling price covers ingredients, packaging, labor, processing fees, and the overhead required to operate the truck. A popular item that produces almost no contribution margin can keep the crew busy while leaving the owner poorer. Now follow one sale. Assume a customer buys a $15 meal and treats sales tax separately because the truck generally collects that money for the government rather than keeping it as revenue. If ingredients consume 30% of the selling price, $4.50 are already committed. Packaging may use another 75 cents. A current basic square in-person rate is commonly listed at 2.6% plus 15 cents, which would remove about 54 cents from a $15 card transaction. That leaves $9.21 before direct labor, fuel, commissary expense, insurance, permits, maintenance, software, debt payments, and owner compensation. If direct labor allocated to that order is $2.50, the contribution falls to $6.71. That is not net profit. It is the amount available to pay the truck's fixed and semi-fixed costs. If those costs total $8,000 for the month, the business needs roughly 1,193 comparable orders merely to cover that layer, before income tax, before unexpected repairs, and before rewarding the owner for invested capital. The exact result changes with pricing, menu mix, wage rates, and local costs. But the method does not change. Calculate what remains from each order, then divide the monthly overhead by that contribution. Throughput determines whether enough orders fit inside the available demand. A truck beside offices may receive most of its walk-up traffic during a concentrated lunch period. Another truck may depend on evenings near entertainment venues, a university schedule, or weekend markets. In every case, demand arrives in waves. During the peak, 30 seconds matters. If the crew can accurately complete one order each minute, a 90-minute rush has theoretical capacity for 90 orders. Real capacity will be lower when customers ask questions, cards fail, items sell out, or several large orders arrive together. If the average cycle stretches from 60 seconds to 90 seconds, theoretical capacity falls from 90 orders to 60 during the same window. At a $15 average ticket, that difference represents $450 of potential sales, assuming the demand was waiting and every order would have been captured. The assumption is important. Faster service cannot create customers who are not there, but slow service can lose customers who are. This is why the kitchen layout, menu size, payment system, packaging station, and employee training are not small operational details. They define how much demand the truck can convert into revenue before the crowd disappears. Labor is more expensive than the wage printed on a schedule. The employer may also carry payroll taxes, workers' compensation, training time, uniforms, scheduling gaps, and overtime exposure. National wage data provide context rather than a universal local rate. Restaurant cooks had a median wage near $17 per hour in 2024, while 2025 accommodation and food service data placed the median for restaurant cooks closer to $18. Major metropolitan markets can be higher. An $18 wage may therefore cost the business more than $18 once employer expenses are included, and replacing an owner with a manager can materially change the economics. That owner-operated distinction is critical. A truck can report a positive accounting profit partly because the owner works 60 hours without recording a market rate wage for every hour. The business may be profitable as a job, yet weak as an investment that could support hired management. To test the difference, calculate the result twice. First, show cash remaining before owner compensation. Then subtract a reasonable wage for the owner's cooking, driving, purchasing, scheduling, cleaning, marketing, and administrative work. The second number is closer to the return on ownership itself. Vehicle and kitchen maintenance create another separation between profit and cash flow. A refrigeration compressor, generator, fuel pump, transmission, water pump, inverter, or exhaust component can fail without asking whether the month was profitable. Routine service should be budgeted as a recurring expense, and major repairs should be supported by a reserve. Otherwise, a truck may show several profitable months, distribute the cash, and then place a $5,000 repair on a credit card. The earlier profit was real in accounting terms, but the cash was not permanently available. Financing adds a fixed claim against uncertain sales. Equipment and vehicle loans may be available through banks, specialty lenders, or government-guaranteed programs, but rates and terms depend on the borrower, collateral, lender, transaction, and current market. The Small Business Administration's 7A program allows financing for qualifying business purposes, with maximum rates tied to a base rate and loan size. That does not make approval automatic, or the payment harmless. A monthly loan obligation continues through rain, engine trouble, illness, and seasonal weakness. Weather matters because much of the customer experience happens outside. Rain, extreme heat, cold, wind, and poor air quality can reduce walk-up demand. Exact percentage claims are difficult to generalize across cities and concepts, but the direction is obvious. A truck serving a protected industrial site may be less exposed than one relying on pedestrians in a public plaza. A business that needs perfect weather to meet debt payments is not diversified. It is making a fixed promise to a lender against a variable relationship with the sky. Location is equally unstable. A corner can appear crowded while producing weak sales because pedestrians are commuting rather than buying. Parking rules may prevent service at the most attractive time. Construction can block visibility. An office tenant can move. A school calendar can change. Or another vendor can divide the queue. Owners need more than intuition. They can count pedestrian traffic, observe purchase behavior, test different time blocks, track tickets by location, and calculate revenue per service hour. The best location is not simply the place with the most people. It is the place with enough permitted access, suitable customers, repeat demand, and service conditions that fit the menu. Street vending is only one revenue channel. Private property service agreements, office parks, breweries where permitted, residential communities, weddings, corporate lunches, festivals, and other booked events can produce different economics. The street offers flexibility and immediate payment, but uncertain volume. Catering offers a known head count, a defined menu, and often a deposit, which can reduce inventory risk. Events may provide large crowds, but they can also impose application charges, minimum guarantees, revenue shares, long hours, and non-refundable commitments. A festival with $10,000 in sales is not automatically better than several smaller catering jobs. Suppose the organizer receives 15%. The truck gives up $1,500 before ingredients, packaging, card fees, additional staff, travel, and extra inventory. If bad weather reduces attendance, much of the food may already have been purchased. By contrast, a pre-ordered office lunch for 200 people can be priced from a known menu and quantity. The revenue may look less dramatic, but predictable purchasing and production can create better cash flow. Maya is evaluating a truck that serves a simplified lunch menu in a mid-sized American city. Her planning model is educational, not a claim that every truck will achieve the same results. In a strong month, street service produces $25,000, catering produces $7,000, and one event contributes $2,000. Total sales, excluding collected sales tax, reach $34,000. Ingredients at 30% use $10,200. Packaging uses $2,040. And card fees are estimated at $900. Employee payroll uses $6,200. Commissary access costs $1,600. The truck loan is $1,450. Fuel and propane use $1,000. And insurance, permits, and software together use $900. She reserves another $900 for maintenance, then assigns $700 to event and parking costs, and $600 to miscellaneous operating expenses. Total monthly costs reach $26,490, leaving $7,510 before owner compensation, income taxes, and major capital replacements. That result initially looks excellent until Maya prices her own work. She spends about 220 hours purchasing, preparing, driving, serving, cleaning, booking events, and handling administration. At $25 per hour, her labor is worth $5,500. After recognizing that labor, about $2,010 remains before income taxes and before a return on the cash she invested. The truck produced a job, paid that job reasonably in this model, and generated a modest additional ownership return. That is very different from saying the business created $7,510 of passive profit. Now change the month. Prolonged rain reduces street demand. One catering order is postponed, and sales fall to $20,000. Ingredients, packaging, card fees, and some hourly labor decline. But the commissary, loan, insurance, permits, software, and much of the fuel and maintenance budget remain. The business may have only a small amount left before paying Maya. Then the generator requires a $3,500 repair. The month becomes a cash loss, even though the menu, prices, and customer reviews did not change. Working capital is what connects those 2 months. It pays employees and suppliers while sales fluctuate, absorbs a repair, funds event inventory before the event pays, and prevents the owner from using high-cost debt every time reality differs from the forecast. 3 months of overhead is a common planning target, but it is not a universal rule or a guarantee. A more exposed, seasonal, highly financed truck may need more. The important principle is that startup capital must include both the asset and the cash needed to survive operating variation. Scaling creates a new ownership model. With one truck, the owner can watch portions, service speed, cash handling, cleanliness, and customer feedback directly. A second truck requires another qualified driver or manager, duplicated equipment, more inventory control, more commissary capacity, more scheduling, and supervision across 2 locations. Revenue may double under ideal demand, but coordination risk can rise faster than sales. The second truck should not be purchased merely because the first one had several strong weekends. Many durable operators use the vehicle as a market testing platform. The truck proves which products sell, which neighborhoods respond, what customers reorder, and whether catering demand exists. Growth may then move toward a production kitchen, recurring contracts, packaged products, or a fixed restaurant. That does not mean every truck should become a storefront. It means the owner should decide whether the vehicle is the final operating model or the first stage of a broader food business. There are also advantages that should not be ignored. A truck can test locations more cheaply than building multiple restaurants. It can create a distinctive brand, move toward temporary demand, serve private events, and reduce the amount of customer-facing real estate required. A focused menu can achieve strong production efficiency. Owner-operators can keep close control of quality. And a paid-off reliable vehicle removes one major monthly burden. The model can work well when the concept fits the market. Capital is disciplined, and revenue is diversified. But a food truck is not automatically a low-risk restaurant. It replaces some dining room costs with vehicle risk, regulatory complexity, outdoor demand, limited storage, commissary dependence, and concentrated service windows. High revenue does not guarantee owner income. A queue does not reveal the debt payment, the prep hours, the repair reserve, or the food discarded after closing. The useful question is not whether food trucks can make money. They can. The useful question is whether a specific truck in a specific jurisdiction, with a specific menu, debt load, schedule, and customer pipeline, can produce enough contribution margin to pay every obligation and compensate the owner fairly. Before purchasing one, verify the vehicle with qualified mechanical and food equipment inspectors. Confirm the proposed layout with the local health and fire authorities. Read the permit rules for every intended location. Obtain insurance quotations. Test the menu's production time. Calculate contribution by item. And build a month-by-month cash flow model. This is educational information, not a promise of results. Costs and regulations vary widely, and a real transaction may require advice from a certified public accountant, attorney, lender, insurance professional, and local food business specialist. The ownership verdict is balanced. A food truck can become a profitable operating business, a respected local brand, and a path into catering or a larger food company. But it is rarely passive, rarely effortless, and rarely as cheap as the vehicle advertisement suggests. The strongest owners control the menu, measure service speed, protect cash, maintain the equipment, diversify demand, and count their own labor honestly. What looks like a restaurant on wheels is really a tightly constrained system of capital, compliance, production, logistics, and timing. The truck succeeds when all of those systems arrive at the same location, before the customer does.